Before we get into the episode, I am thrilled to announce that the EntreMD Business School is open for enrollment. The EntreMD Business School is the only school of its kind for physicians who want to build 6, 7, and multiple 7-figure businesses. Over the last 2 years, we have had hundreds of doctors go through the school with unbelievable results. Some of them run brands, some of them run private practices, some of them are coaches, some have other kinds of service-based businesses or product-based businesses. And we've had people come in and cross the 6-figure milestone, cross the 7-figure milestone, cross the multiple 7-figure milestone. You will be in a place where you'll get the coaching, the community, the accountability that you need to thrive as an entrepreneur, especially in the times that we're in. So maybe you've been following me for a while. Maybe you've been getting so much out of the EntreMD podcast and you've been wondering, how can I work with Dr. Una and the community more? Well, this is your chance. Come join us in the EntreMD Business School. It is application only. So go to entremd.com/business to turn in your application. I cannot tell you how many doctors have made statements like this. I recovered my investment in the first week. I recovered my investment in my bank account in the first 90 days. This is the best investment I've made in myself ever. I want you to have that kind of story, not just a story of building a great business that serves a lot and earns a lot, but having a business that gives you the freedom to live life on your terms. So don't wait any longer. entremd.com/business. And now for the episode. Hi, docs. Welcome to the EntreMD podcast, where it's all about helping amazing physicians just like you embrace entrepreneurship so you can have the freedom to live life and practice medicine on your terms. I'm your host, Dr. Una. Well, hello, my friends. Welcome back to another episode of the EntreMD podcast. Super pumped to be in your ears. And I am excited because I am going to be talking about something that plagued me for so long. And it is not a thing that I deal with anymore. And I would love for it not to be a thing you deal with anymore after you listen to this. Okay. So we're going to be talking about this thing of if you feel you're not good enough, okay? It's not a problem. We're going to work through it. It's going to be okay. But yeah, this is what we're going to be talking about. And I want to take a moment and shout out everybody who has left a review for the EntreMD podcast. And today, I'm declaring today Share Day, okay? So I want you to take a screenshot of this episode and I want you to post it to your social media and say, hey, I'm listening to this episode of the EntreMD podcast. I want you to come listen to it with me. It is super amazing, okay? Share that, tag us, #EntreMD. I would love to reshare it. I'd love to shout you out. But let me tell you, there are a million physicians who need to get this message. And every time you share, you are helping, you are being a part of the movement, a movement of change within the physician community. So go share and thank you for doing that. Okay. So let's talk about this, right? And for me, this was really an issue. I always felt like the underdog. I always felt like I was not the kind of person who could get these kind of results, or I was not the kind of person who belonged in certain rooms, and I was not the kind of person. And because of that, I wasn't in the race, right? I wasn't in the race. I wasn't in the ring. It was almost like what I'm supposed to do is not really succeed at this. And so whatever little success I get, that's all right. I don't have to try and do anything else. And this is not about a competition, right? I talk about no comparitis. And so it's not about a competition with anybody. It is a competition with yourself. It's a competition with myself, deciding that I am going to become everything I have the potential to be. I'm going to become all of it, right? And so if that's the case, then I really need to get rid of this, I'm not good enough and I'm not that kind of person and things like that. And it shows up for different people in different ways. And so I want to give you a few ways that this could show up. This could show up. The overarching thing is you kind of exclude yourself from the best, from the great. You're like, so when in any category, when you think about the best, the great, and all that stuff, you're like those people, right? Like not you, not me, but like those people. Okay. So it can show up like, maybe someone's like, oh, I hit my first, 7-figure year or 8-figure year. And you're like, oh, I can't do stuff like that. Now, if you don't want to do stuff like that, that's very different from it would be nice to, but I can't. Okay. I won't, I don't want to, that's fine. You don't have to, but you want to, but you're like, I can't. Well, that's I'm not good enough. I'm not the kind of person who can do that. Right. Or you see someone who has a really great team. So maybe it's a private practice. They have a great administrator. Maybe it's an administrator who had an MBA, and they have these, like a lead front desk, a lead MA, and their team, and all of that stuff. Or maybe you're a coach and you see somebody who has a director of operations, and their business is at a point where, they have a solid marketing person, they have a number of coaches working and all of that. And you look at that and you're just like, I can never have that. Now, if you're like, I don't want that, I just want to coach 10 clients a year and have a VA who manages my calendar and my email, then that's fine. But if this is something you want to do, and that's the kind of organization you want to build, but you're like, I can't do that. If you think like, I could never hire somebody like that, I could never afford somebody like that, people like that won't want to work with me. Like, I'll be found out like I'm a fraud and things like that. That if you're thinking that way, then that's that whole I feel I'm not good enough thing that's working. And we're going to talk about how to overcome it. And you're going to be so blown away. It's so good. Okay. Another way it can show up is maybe you go and you go to somebody's office, right? And so again, this could be a private practice. You walk in the waiting room, all that stuff. You're like, wow, this is amazing. I can never have an office like this. Right? I can never have an office like this. Or maybe you go and somebody is putting on an event and you look at the facility where the event is and all of that kind of stuff. And you're like, wow, I can never host an event in a place like this. Right? I'm not that kind of person. I can't do that. If you find yourself thinking things like that, right? Or maybe it's a coach, right? Or maybe somebody who has a service-based business, like a medical billing company, or maybe the person does products or whatever, but they have their own office space and you walk in and it's, like beautiful, right? Beautiful contemporary design, lots of white walls, the flowers in the background, really nice furniture that you're like, wow, must have been very expensive. And you just look at that and you're like, yeah, I can't do that. You want to, but you're like, I can't do stuff like that. Right. Or maybe you see somebody on stage and the person is speaking confidently, looks really nice, has a really nice suit on, or if it's like me, they have a t-shirt on, right? And they look really great and they're dominating on stage. Their delivery is really good. The response of the audience is really good. And you're just like, wow, they're amazing. I could never do that. Right? I could never do that. Now, if you don't want to speak at all because you're like, yeah, that would be nice, but I have no interest in doing that. That's one thing. But if you do want to, if you wish you could, if you know that for what your mission in life is, like, I would really need this skill, then if you're thinking that, then that's that whole, I feel I'm not good enough narrative, right? That's going on. Maybe you think about your business and the kinds of patients you can attract or the kinds of clients you can attract. And you're like, I can't attract high profile people. I can't attract people who have means because, they probably won't come to somebody like me, things like that. And you're like, I just couldn't, I can't attract them. I can't attract them, right? Another way it can show up is people won't pay me. Like, why would anybody pay me? Right? Like, so let's say you're a coach and why would people pay me high ticket? Why would somebody pay me 10 grand or 20 grand? Right? Why would somebody pay me 50 grand? Why would somebody do that? Right? Or maybe you have a direct primary care practice and you're like, well, people won't pay me because they have insurance. Now, fully well they pay other people, but you're like, but they wouldn't pay me though. Right? They wouldn't pay me. Or you have a concierge practice, they wouldn't pay me. Right? And so if you find any of these thoughts going on, that is just underneath it is, I'm not good enough. I'm not those people, right? I'm not those people. And these are things that will cripple you because as long as you think you're not the best, or you think you can't do that, or you can't get those kind of results, then you're going to show up apologetically. You're going to show up, but not in a way to give you the result you want, right? Because you're not good enough. So you're going to show up that way, like I'm not good enough. And I'm just doing all these things to, to do stuff, but I'm not expecting the result, right? And if you think that way and you show up that way, then you are going to have mediocre results, right? And so I battled with this for a while. And then I discovered a thought, one thought. I discovered a thought that immediately made me look at things very differently. Okay. So I want you to think about, being on stage and there are all these great keynoters there. And maybe I'm supposed to speak and I'm like, wow, they are amazing. Right. And they are amazing in a way that, in a way, meaning for me that, it's they. No, we're not amazing. They are amazing, right? And so I've already excluded myself from being great or being one of the best and all of those things because I'm like, I'm not that kind of person. And the thought I uncovered is this: I am one of the best. I am one of the best. They're great speakers. They're the best speakers. I am one of the best. And you might say, but what if it's not true? Well, it's also not true that you're not one of the best, right? And they may be great in their zone of genius, but guess what? I have my zone of genius. You have your zone of genius. And in that area, I'm one of the best. I'm one of the best, right? And so when I start thinking about my company, when I think about EntreMD, it's like, oh, there are all these other companies and, we're also kind of company. But I'm like, no, we're one of the best. We're one of the best. You just think about one area where you've thought like, I don't feel I'm good enough. And you just replace that with, I'm one of the best. Immediately it's like, I'm one of the best. And you're hopeful and you're like, wow, what we can do. And you think about the way you show up. If you're slouching, you sit up straight, like I'm one of the best, right? And so with EntreMD, I started thinking, I'm one of the best. With the EntreMD Business School, I'm like, there are business schools out there. Harvard has a business school. Emory has a business school. All these amazing business schools out there. But we're one of the best, right? And you start thinking about the A team, right? Like I used to think I couldn't attract high flyers and great players and things like that. But now, I attract the best. I attract the best, right? I can't have a state-of-the-art facility. Oh, yes, of course I can. I can. Our facility, one of the best, right? And the beautiful thing about the best here, please hear me, is that really, I want you to think one of the best can start from, I am excellent. And excellence means I am doing the absolute best with the resources at my disposal right now. And as I get more resources, I get more knowledge, I get more understanding, I can do it better and better and better, right? But at every point in time, if I am excellent, I'm one of the best. I'm one of the best, right? Okay. Think about when I go to an event. And there are all these keynoters and they're amazing and they've been on more stages and they've done bigger things. But when I show up, it's not like I'm like, I'm one of the best. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and me, number 6. I'm one of the best, right? And when I think about clients, I'm like, I attract the best. I work with the most amazing physicians. And I do, right? And you might think, well, how about that's a bit of pride? Okay, so let's talk about that for a little bit. When you think about pride, in a way, it's like an overinflated sense of self, overinflated. And so I would use a car. You may have heard me use this analogy. There is, or let's say vehicles of transportation. Okay, so there is a Honda Civic. Okay, there is a Rolls Royce, and there is a Falcon, a jet. Right? So you have the Honda Civic, you have the Rolls Royce, you have the jet. Okay. Now, let's say, for the sake of illustration, you are the Rolls Royce. Okay. Now, pride means that you're a Rolls Royce, but you think you're a jet. False humility means that you're a Rolls Royce, but you present and show up as a Honda Civic. Like, oh, I'm trying to be humble. That's not humility. That's diminishing who you are. Now, a Rolls Royce that is clear that it's a Rolls Royce, that's not pride. That's humility. Okay, so I want you to think about that. So when you say I am one of the best, That's not pride. That's not any of that. Because really, when you stop to take stock based on your zone of genius and showing up in excellence, you are one of the best. It really is just what it is. And you've believed the lie that you're not good enough and everybody's better than you, for so long. Like, why don't you believe this now? I am one of the best. I am one of the best. So I took that thought. I meditated on that thought. I thought about it a lot. I said it a lot. I visualized it a lot. Right? And the more I thought about it, the more I said it, the more I visualized it, the more I believed it. The more I believed it, the more I showed up that way. The more I showed up that way, the more results I got in alignments with, I am one of the best. And so I want to challenge you today. Like, think about all these different scenarios of that show, I feel I'm not good enough. And with one thought, you can turn that around. I'm one of the best. I'm one of the best. And listen to me. You are a physician, which means I don't need to talk to you to know that you have an incredible work ethic. I don't need to talk to you that you're a voracious learner. I don't need to talk to you to know that you want to serve people, you want to help people. I don't need to talk to you to know that you want to be at the top of your game. You are one of the best. You are one of the best, right? And just adopt that. I'm one of the best. I'm one of the best. What does that mean? Paint the picture in your mind. Visualize it. I'm one of the best. You're supposed to go speak on stage. I'm one of the best. You're supposed to show up and make offers as a coach. I'm one of the best. You go to serve your clients. How do you show up? I'm one of the best. Right? When you look at somebody else's business and it's big and they're doing amazing things and all this stuff, and this thought comes like, and you can never do something like that. You're like, of course I can. I'm one of the best. Now, does this mean you go around doing what everybody else is doing? No. But for the things that you want to do, that you know you should do for your business and things like that, that this thought, I'm not good enough, has held you back. Now it's time to give up that thought and say, I love that. What would it be like to do that? Of course I can do that. I'm one of the best. Right? So I want you to own your zone of genius. I want you to own your mission. I want you to own your business and the picture, the vision you have for your business. I want you to show up as one of the best. I want you to show up in excellence, which again means doing the best with the resources you have at the time. And then live out your full potential. Make your business, like the dreams you've had about your business, make them your reality. And you can defeat this thought of, I'm not good enough. Defeat it by taking another thought and working on it till it becomes your subconscious belief. I'm one of the best. Okay. I am absolutely rooting for you. And I want you to take this episode. I want you to share it with the doctors in your life. It will change their lives. And I will see you, my friend, doing your best everywhere, showing up as the best. Right? When you start doing these things, you can tag me, #EntreMD. I would love to shout you out, repost your stuff, retweet your stuff. You are one of the best. Show up that way. Work on believing it. And I cannot wait to celebrate all the success you create. All right, my friends, I will see you on the next episode of the EntreMD podcast. Hey, if you love listening to the EntreMD podcast, I want to invite you to join EntreMD On Demand. It is my signature subscription program that gives you access to a library of business courses designed to help you do one thing as a physician entrepreneur, and that is to thrive. Just head out to entremd.com/on demand, and I'd love to have you join us. See you on the inside.